Okay, in this video, we're going to be going through a two-blank text completion that has more than one sentence. And so it's important to note that this indeed can be the case. You can have one sentence, of course, two sentences, and even three sentences. So sometimes ETS will throw a long two-blank text completion at you. Well, is anything different? Well, not really. You want to read the entire sentence. If you feel you can answer a blank, because you've reached far enough in the sentence where it becomes clear, you can put your own word in and then move on and read the rest of the sentence. But always be aware that oftentimes there are hidden blanks, or hidden clues rather. Hopefully there are no hidden blanks. There's only two. But they're hidden clues. So you're not really sure what the right answer to the blank is because you haven't read the entire thing. So make sure you always read the entire text completion. So once again, once you do that, you want to break down what the sentence is saying and then, of course, come up with your keywords. So in this case, we're going to read the sentence, we're going to break it down, and then we're going to see how the blanks relate to each other, because you're going to see that this one's a little harder, and that's oftentimes the case with some of these longer two-blank text completions. For an obscure poet to have penned such a refined, poignant poem, it's not at all blank. It's not at all, well, it can be any of these three. The sonnet, after all, has been a favored form for hundreds of years amongst the amateur and the lionized alike. I would be blank, on the other hand, notice the shift, had not one, out of the sheer number produced during this time, not surpassed Shakespeare on a bad day. So, yes, a lot going on there. But basically, here's this poet. Nobody knows him, really, but he wrote a really nice sonnet. Okay? And then we have this intervening information that many people over the hundreds of years have been writing sonnets. So lots of people out there, lots of sonnets. So I would be blank had not one out of the sheer number produced during this time not surpassed Shakespeare on a bad day. Because there's so many, I mean, at least one should be better than a bad Shakespearean sonnet. So he would be surprised. Surprised had not one been as good as Shakespeare on a bad day. So now that we know that, we can go back to the first blank. For an obscure poet to have penned such a refined, poignant poem is not at all what? Well, it's not at all surprising. You can see the relationship between the blanks. They're almost the same word. It's not at all surprising. Why? Well, so many people have written sonnets throughout these hundreds of years. On the other hand, I would be surprised had not one of those thousands and thousands of sonnets been better than Shakespeare on a bad day. So you can see that for the first blank, we need a word that means surprise. That word is puzzling. For the second blank, we need a word that also means confused or surprised, and that word is confounded. And confounded is stronger than puzzling. They're not exactly the same words. If you're confounded, you're really confused. Like, how could it possibly be? Where puzzling is just, oh, well, that's puzzling. That's interesting. That's different. That's surprising. The trick here is that a lot of people do pick rare, because they say, well, you have all these hundreds of sonnets, so therefore it's not at all rare. In fact, all these obscure poets are writing refined, poignant sonnets, but it doesn't say that. The text completion does not say that. But if you read in the beginning and you just start playing around with the words, this will trap you. So it's always important to read that entire sentence and, of course, come up with your own word. And then in the very end, once you have these answer choices, you can always plug them back in just to test how they sound. And we'll do that right now. For an obscure poet to have penned such a refined, poignant poem is not at all puzzling. The sonnet, after all, has been a favored form for hundreds of years amongst the amateur and the lionized alike. I'd be confounded, on the other hand, had not one out of the sheer number produced during this time not surpassed Shakespeare on a bad day. And again, we're reading this to make sure that stylistically it flows, it makes sense, and that it's logical. And usually, of course, the logical part we take care of when we put in our own words.